I'll start with a comment. We're excited to be able to participate in the Coaches versus Cancer event. Suits and sneakers, whatever you want to call it. There's going to be a lot going around. Obviously, IMG has done a great job of distributing T-shirts for our students, and Kristen Eichhorst has got a group doing working on swabs for the bone marrow registry, which, as I've said before, is a critical thing. I believe we've already had at least 2 hits that have matched in a bone marrow transplant in a successful match, and that's been great just in a small amount of time. So we're really proud to be a part of that and happy to be a part of it, and supportive of the Harriman family, obviously, with Avery Harriman and Avery Strong. Now that they're back in town, Cheryl and the kids. Chris is still a Lobo over there, and we're cheering for him every day. But it's going to be great to honor Avery and be able to encourage all the young people to get over there and get swabbed, so maybe they can be part of that registry. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Seems pretty obvious, but what was the thinking behind doing another Avery Strong Day despite Chris having moved on?
Well, first of all, they're still, Chris is part of the foundation of what we, are trying to build here, and helped us a great deal. You can still see that every day in a guy like Jack McVeigh and Ty Webster, on guys that he was the critical point man of recruiting. And Cheryl came back to the community because the medical support was better back here. The community support was there for her. She had friends that she knows she could depend on and trust, and we want to help that family everywhere we can. So whether Chris is here, there, or the other way, it doesn't matter to us.
How was Avery?
Avery's doing pretty good. Siobhan would know better. He's seen him more. But the times I've seen him, he's got plenty of spunk.
Looking ahead to this game, you guys are riding pretty high right now. Should be a pretty electric atmosphere on Saturday. How do you temper emotions in that game?
Well, we didn't look like we had any emotion for about a month and a half, so I'm not going to temper any form of enthusiasm. I think during the Northwestern or Indiana game or whatever it was, Ty Webster had said, we just look like we have no emotion on the floor, offensively or defensively, and there's just no personal pride. And so if we can play with as much of that as we can, I'll be okay. Certainly we need to play with a level head and a mindset that allows us to be successful. So any kind of craziness, we'll have to get on top of. But I think our guys will be ready. We had a very hard practice before Michigan State, and then that was a very physical game. So yesterday was off. We had some guys that were beat up, Benny and Siobhan, and Glenn is still relatively sick. So, we're just one day better on those guys. I think everybody will go, but, I don't know what their percentage will be in terms of 100% or not.
What kind of challenge does Michigan present with so many guys shooting over 40% from 3?
Well, a huge challenge. We grade guys out, and they are, and you get a letter grade based on your efficiency, and they are like A+, A+, A minus, A minus, A minus, and then you get to a B finally. And I think we started about an A minus, and then get to the B minus next. And so they are really a tough matchup that way. You just have to do a great job on the ball. Got to do a great job in transition defense. And then it always ends in middle ball screen with Coach Beeline, He runs his stuff, spreads the floor, kind of lulls you to death, and then they either get a lane line drive or a ball screen and find that big late. They do as good a job as anybody, spacing the floor, getting their 5-man easy baskets, and then getting open rhythm threes.
How did Minnesota defend that the other night?
I'm in the middle of watching that game right now, but I've got some. I saw some of it, and they did a good job, and I think they kept things fresh. They switched things up. I don't know if you can zone this group or not. Some teams have. Iowa has successfully. Something that we've looked at times too. I think you have to keep everything in play. Zone, press, pray, you name it.
How's the culture of defense that you've kind of started from the beginning worked with this team that's so young?
Well, we just gave up 11 of 18 from 3, and so that wasn't a great night. But we did a nice job on the other stuff, I thought. We got them out of transition. They didn't get a lot of transition on us. But I think we're getting better. I think that there's a mindset to do things more consistently. We used to do it all right some of the time, and and you're never going to get it all of the time, but if you can get it most of the time, you're okay. Well, we're just beyond some, but not quite at most. So we're getting better, but we're not where we need to be.
You look back at the Miami game, and Siobhan went off.
That's a long time ago. Wait, okay.
Didn't quite get enough help. And now, this last Siobhan again was doing his thing, but you had guys like Jack and Ty, and those guys kind of step up to support him, so he didn't have to do it all down the stretch.
That's actually been a big emphasis since, I forget when, but one of these press conferences, and somebody asked me, do you feel like you're too dependent on Andrew and Siobhan? And yeah. And, we actually met with the team and said, if you guys don't contribute points, rebounds, steals, assists, if you're not, I can go out there and move the ball. You don't want me out there moving the ball. But, hell, anybody can do that. So what we want is you to be able to make plays, and that's why you're recruited here. So go do it. And that's about the time we put Glenn in the starting lineup. Decided to bring Ty off for no real reason. I mean, Benny's a senior captain. I mean, you could have picked either way, but I like what Glenn does. So and now some other guys have picked up. Michael Jacobson's had good games. Ed Murrow's contributed. You look at Jack McVay was huge during that run in the second half, that 13-0 run. And now Ty, of course, is, I think, getting more and more consistent, more dependable.
How happy are you for him, just in general?
I'm happy for Ty because, he's been through it. Came in with this one mentality, and, I tried coaching him hard, and he fought me. And then we kind of went through, down to the bottom of the valley again. And he just basically last year I think to be coachable just was, I'm going to be just a defensive stopper and not even worry about offense. And now he's been able to take his offensive game, put it back into game form, and really help us.
Did you ever have
So I'm very happy for him.
Yeah. Did you ever have, over the last couple of years, have a thought that he might not make it here?
I mean, I have a thought that everybody might not make it here.
Afraid that he might transfer or leave.
Yeah, no, not, I mean.
Not bad when you said he fought you and stuff like that.
No, it was just, I wouldn't fight him. I don't think that would come out well. Yeah, but now there's some guys I'd fight, and I think I'd be fine too, by the way they try and take a charge. But, or don't. Where were we? Ty. You never know on kids. I would have swore to buckets that we'd had a couple freshmen in the last couple of years that we had big plans for and that we're playing and this, that, and the other thing, and then they bolt. And so you just never know. You never know. So you just try and keep coaching, keep the team concept there, and try and put winning basketball together. But, it's hard in this league. We feel great now, but knock on wood, right? We've got Michigan, at Purdue, and Maryland. Those guys are all really good. And I don't know what's after that because that's plenty of elephant right there.
How do you keep them focused and not riding too high on a win at Michigan State?
Well, we watch film, get that out of them in a hurry. We made a lot of mistakes against Michigan State. So we watched film yesterday about correcting errors and doing that sort of thing. So far the mindset's been good. And in the last whatever weeks, I think our mindset's been good. We just got to keep them in that state.
Have you noticed the chemistry growing throughout the season with these guys, as young as they are?
Anytime you go through experiences like just, you win 3 straight road games, you're kind of out there isolated. And there's just so few people around supporting you that your greatest support sources are right there, and that naturally brings you together, And so that's been good for us.
What were you kind of expecting coming into this year to get offensively from Glen? Obviously he's a natural point guard, but from a points perspective, were you expecting him to kind of come along as he has?
I did think he could come close to double figures and Ty too. I thought we could have 4 guys right around double figures, and Glenn was one of those guys. I wasn't ruling out Benny because, who knows? And I don't know where Benny's numbers are at all. You guys, I haven't looked at a stat sheet in a few weeks, but I'm sure they're, since he got sick, I don't think he's even shot from the outside. And Ty had a few games where he, hurt that rib and he couldn't lift his arm above his head, so he didn't shoot for a few games, and that didn't help us. But at the same time, everybody goes through that. But I think Glen is one of those guys that's a playmaker, and you got to put him in a position. And I probably need to get him in more position, and we'll probably see a fair amount of zone. So I think I've tried to, in the last few days, put some things together so he can attack the zone. I can give him some help with some actions and plays, because right now they're all kind of dominated by Andrew, Siobhan, and some of those guys. Ty even gets some actions, but I think, a few more for Glenn. So I think we've got some things in place that will help him against zone.
How much will you feel the need to talk to your team about some of the questions that have been asked today?
So if you're going to, about the winning streak or about?
Just like, the environment tomorrow is probably going to be more electric than anything that the freshmen have experienced. Maybe they saw it on a recruiting trip.
Sure.
And there's going to be an expectation, sort of a buzz in the air where people think, oh, just be Michigan State. This is good. Do you have to prepare them for that moment?
No, I'll just tell them, first of all, this is what college basketball is supposed to be like, right? This is what we want. And we want that expectation. We want that buzz. We want this place alive. And so, if I think we're losing focus, I'll try and get their attention. We call a timeout 24 seconds into the game the other night. And that's not a record, by the way. I've called it quicker, but and been teed up quicker, by the way. Ed Hightower got me, Eddie. Stanford at home at CSU, 2008, I think. But it's one of those things that I want our guys in the right mindset about game plan, and kind of let the chips fall where they are, because a lot of times it comes as big a deal as you make it. So I ignore it.
What do you mean by that? As big a deal as you make it?
Well, it's just like anything else. Like if you got a kid like Siobhan's hurting, it's as big a deal. Are you okay? Okay, let's not do this. Let's have you do. It's the biggest deal as you make it. It's just like anything else. So I think that there are things that when it comes to discipline, behavior, you make a big deal about a certain thing, but other things that you can't control. You just worry about, hey, let's stay focused, let's do what we do, and enjoy the heck out of the moment.
Is that mostly in your area where you're trying to at least lead from example, where you're not getting too high or too low?
Well, I'll be rocking, man. I'll be ready to go now. So that's a bad example probably. But, a guy like me whose blood pressure spikes like an EKG, I wouldn't use me as the example. But I think that, when you talk about leadership, it's it's an everyday, every minute thing. And I think that that's a culture that you have to, it's constantly under construction, because those things, discipline, integrity, all things, are decisions or choices. And honestly, those things go up and down, You'd like to say it's static, but it's not pregnancy, It's not like it's there, and, you can either choose to have it or not.
So Ed Morrow said something last week about just learning terminology and plays, and that helped him. Has the rest of the freshmen...
I don't ask him. Well, when Glenn screws it up, I ask him. The other night, Glenn, so he said two things yesterday. It was really funny. First of all, he gave up 3 in transition, and Phil says to him, who do you have? Because there was a timeout. He goes, I have no idea. And I said, okay, Glenn, now you don't say that to Phil, because Phil's extreme, all right? That's what my 9-year-old calls him, or how old ever Gabe is now, 11, I think. And so, ask Siobhan, does Phil ever lose his mind? Siobhan, does Phil ever lose his mind, Coach Beck? Daily, maybe? Okay, yeah. So don't say to Phil when it's his scout, I have no idea. Just lie. Just say a number, right? Like say 34. And I don't care if 34 is not, he'll say, 34 is not in the game. Oh, then I had the wrong guy. They don't have a 34 on their roster. It doesn't matter. Just make up a name, right? Or a number. So, and then the other one was yesterday in film, he lost Aaron Harris, and he gave up a 3 in the second half with about 8 minutes to go or 6 minutes to go. And I said, Glenn, what was going on? He goes, I was sleeping. To which Phil yelled out, save the sleep for your bed. You don't sleep on the court. So my whole point is, wherever this was going, but what do we worry about with these guys? A lot, but you still have to let them go out there and play through mistakes and let them be themselves. And these are a good group of guys, and I think they've got talent, and I think they know how to play. I think they've got poise and the right mindset, and so we're gonna like I said, I've said from the get-go, I wanted to go out there and make mistakes, but not enough to cost us the game. And lately, it's been okay. Anything else for Coach Miles? Thanks.